What's going on, everybody? DT here, CEO and co-founder of Bags. Welcome to our Bodega session. Today we've got Steve Patino, Sneaker Steve from Les Gray. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bodega. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Thank you, Daniel. I'm so excited to be on. When I got the email, my answer was yes. Immediately love it. You guys are a big part of helping my company grow right now. So I'm thankful for Secure Bags, and your whole team is incredible. So anything I could do to communicate that and reciprocate my appreciation for your company and what it's doing, I definitely want to be here and be a support as well to any other founders as well that just need the help. They need awareness of companies like yours and companies like ours.
My guy, we appreciate you deeply for working with us and excited about what's ahead for both of us in the future. But let's start with the basic stuff, right? Like, tell us a little bit about the business. Give us the one-on-one in a snapshot.
Yeah, so the company was founded in 2019. The name of the company is Les Gray, and it is a company that's named after my son. I've been in the footwear industry for 28 years, so almost 30 years. My entire life's work has been in footwear. That is how I got the name Sneaker Steve in the industry. And for me, it's really about how do I change the way that footwear is manufactured? How do I create higher quality product and really create next generation products that the world is going to one, appreciate, consumers are going to love, but more importantly, that they can afford. And I wanted to create a business model that was going to create the next generation of footwear product for the world.
Talk to us a little bit about like the broader issues of sustainability in footwear more largely, right? Like massive, massive market, right? Like some of the biggest companies in the world are in the footwear space. Like, you know, what are the things that they should be doing better? But like, what's the broader problem with sustainability in footwear?
Yeah, I mean, the broadest problem there is that traditional footwear manufacturing hurts people that make the shoes, it hurts the planet, and it hurts animals at every stage. I mean, so that is the broadest and most high level that you can get to. And when you think of that, it's just wrong and it's bad. So, when you think of 88, almost 90% of all footwear is made in Asia, made the same way. And typically, footwear is where you're trying to make shoes that are using actual inexpensive, low quality materials so you can bring a product here and sell it to mass. That inherently causes a lot of downstream issues, specifically in terms of the manufacturing, the toxic materials that are used. And what happens is that we don't see it. So I lived in China for 5 years. I learned how to speak Mandarin Chinese to learn everything about manufacturing. And while I was in the industry, I learned that the way that you manufacture shoes, when you go behind the scenes and you look at the factories, it's a dirty industry. And I wanted to change the way that footwear is made so that you're not having to hurt people and create a company that has non-negotiables and really change the way that the ethos of the CEO plays into when they look at what their values are for their company. And then when you look at that downstream, the positive impact is absolutely incredible, what you could do based on your decisions as a company.
Without a doubt. And in doing so, right, you have to do things a little bit differently, right? Like there isn't necessarily a full supply chain built out that's net sustainable for the sneaker industry, right? Like talk to us a little bit about like the practical steps of how you got started, some of the struggles of, kind of paving your path within a broader industry.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's exactly that. You had to do it different. Being a startup, that is one of our benefits, that we were able to take, my 28 years of industry experience and all my business partners together come and create a plan from the ground up to revolutionize the supply chain thinking. And for us, what we do is differently is that we don't manufacture anything in Asia. All of our products are engineered in Italy in the highest quality factories in the world. And then we take injection metal molds that we move locally to manufacture within North America near shore. That to me, just from a carbon emissions offset, where we're reducing carbon emissions by 15% just by moving products to be done near shore. And then instead of having to make a shoe with 70 to 50 inputs, which typically take, you need laces, you need an insole, you need the upper, you need the mesh, you need the logo, you need the outsole, you need the stitching, you need the rubber. That is the typical tradition of manufacturing. We do everything with a single input, and our shoes are made in 8 minutes with zero water waste.
What? That's crazy. In 8 minutes.
8 minutes.
Wow. Wow. That's extremely, extremely impressive. And there's often this connotation of, if you want to start a business that has an impact, you need to sacrifice like revenue or sacrifice profitability. Do you think that's true, right? Like, I mean, you've been running an incredible business for a little while now, right? Like, how do you think about the push and the pull of both impact and making sure that you have a really profitable business?
So you really don't. And I think that, we have North Stars like Patagonia in the world that are businesses that are incredibly profitable, that are hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollar businesses. And you look at that and you say, okay, you can do it. When I look at companies like Dyson out of the UK, when I look at companies like Tesla in terms of the manufacturing and being able to grab market share by creating better products in a new way, that I believe is the future of the world. And I want to be focused on creating a new type of manufacturing that actually solves a product by creating one first higher quality products with a stronger value proposition and also have the sustainability. So for us, it's not a or, right? Most companies are like, well, we're a great sustainable company, but our products fall apart or they're too expensive. We know that we don't want the consumer to choose. We want to make sure that they are having the best product that's also made sustainably and at an affordable price. All of our products are under $100 retail. That was strategically positioned so that we can actually create from an economies of scale business that can actually be in people's homes.
First of all, congratulations. I mean, it's really impressive what you've been able to both build and what you guys have been able to actually put into market. Um, and honestly, it's a lot of, you guys share a lot of parallels to how we think about the world at Bags. And honestly, what motivates me, which is I want to build a massive business that also has a massive impact, right? And I think if we really want to see a change in how, broader capitalism work, those two things need to move in alignment with each other, right? Which is super, super key. Um, but let's switch gears a little bit. Like, so how'd you fund the business, right? Like, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, when thinking about even getting into entrepreneurship, right, are weary of. It's how do I get started? What does that initial funding look like? What was your experience like?
Yeah, for me, it was, I'm a two-time founder. So I had the experience of building my own company and being one of the founding partners of a previous footwear company where I was a president and one of the co-owners of the company. So I had that. I knew what it goes from zero to millions, right? I already had that in my tool belt. Also, I knew that previous to this, I was a global director of DC Shoes, one of the largest skateboard companies in the world, where we had over $1 billion sales growth in 5, 6 years. So I already saw that, right? I knew what it took to not only go from, a 90, $100 million company to, creating revenues in the billions after a couple of years. And I knew that for this company, for me to really create the kind of impact and really attack the opportunity that I saw in front of us here, which is a massive opportunity, is I needed strong partners that were incredible at execution and strategy, and also having that financial support. So when we started the company from a pre-seed standpoint, we partnered with our partners here in Los Angeles to be able to then create a company that had the ability to scale. And when you're creating these type of companies that are generational companies that are changing, you need a team. You can't, you need to have the resources to be able to grow and scale. And currently, where I'm at is now that I'm at, at an inflection point where we're really starting to grow. That's where the communication came through for Secure Bags, where Slauson and Co. AJ, which is a good friend of mine, said, "Hey, you need to speak to Secure Bags," and that's really, this relationship has been incredible because it gives me as an owner um, the strength and the ability to finance growth without having to dilute future equity, which I think is so powerful in this conversation, especially because we're growing so fast, to be able to have the ability to know that if I get an order from REI or if I get an order from Nordstrom or from Foot Locker, some of my existing partners now, as they grow the business, I have that confidence that I can go to them and say, "Hey, REI, hey, Nordstrom, hey, Foot Locker, I have the ability to grow this because I have set in place actual tools and different type of vehicles that allow me to finance this business growth."
Without a doubt. And shout out to AJ and the guys over at Slauson. They're big supporters of bags. We are big supporters of theirs. And in reality, one of the best things that they do well is bring together community, right? We talk a little bit about how, your own community, right? Like that's a really good example right there of a guy like AJ. But how have the people around you, the community that you've built around the brand, whether that's customers or just people, locally, enabled you to like, honestly continue to accelerate your growth, right? Like what is community meant to Alice Gray?
Everything. Um, I wouldn't be here without my community. My community is what allowed me to have my pre-seed investors. My community is what allows me to have my current seed round investors. And that to me is really what's allowing me to scale the business because with this community, including my retailers, like with REI, that we've just recently launched and we just announced our partnership with REI, that is a dream come true relationship. And to be able to know that they're focused on changing the faces of the outdoor industry, and for me to be able to bring a product which is the highest level quality product on the planet in our category, that is powerful because community is multifaceted. It's not me taking from this community. It's me saying, "Hey, now I'm a part of this community, but I'm bringing you the best in the world, and you are the best in the world." And together, that just makes this community stronger, and that's really powerful.
If first of all, congratulations on the deal with REI. That is really no joke. And I'm sure I'm sure it also took a ton of work and a ton of hustle, right? And just closing the deal is the first part, right? Then you've actually got to, make the product, sell the product, advertise behind it, right? Like that's often something people don't think about is you might, get a great deal with a retailer. And then you're like, wait, no, you still got to push the product, right? You still got to advertise, right? But I got to ask if there are a lot of brands who are at the stage right before potentially getting that REI deal, right? Any advice you could give a brand who's thinking about getting into retail more largely, right? Thinking about selling your products wholesale, right? Like what advice would you give? Would you give founders who are thinking about putting their brands on shelves?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question. I have a lot of advice there. Um, I think first, in the economy that we are in right now, which is tough, is really understanding what your worth is and your value is to the world. And this is just my perspective, right? So I can share only what I believe in. And I believe that because as a founder, you're able to create a story that people can resonate with and a product that is bringing value to the industry and differentiated enough that it can make sense being on a shelf, right? Because retailers take a big risk or customers take a big risk by saying, well, I'm going to reduce my allocation of my budget or my buying amount that I can do from this brand, X brand, to bringing your brand, which doesn't have any traction or doesn't have yet the actual, I would say, positive sell through to know that that product is going to sell good. So, really, for that entrepreneur that's thinking about approaching a Nordstrom or an REI or a Foot Locker, like we are, you really have to think about what are you giving them as a benefit to them, right? And what is uniquely your position so that you make sure that you're checking all the boxes. For us, one, I understand that sustainable products are growing 7 times faster than traditional products. I understand that supply chain issues are a huge, huge pain point to retailers right now, where it takes them anywhere to 6 months to up to 2 years to receive product. I'm able to mitigate that risk with my supply chain being able to deliver in just 2 months, right? So I'm 5 to sometimes 10 times faster than my competitors. I'm bringing the highest quality product in the industry. I also bring third-party audited certifications in safety and in sustainability. So it's not about just about what I'm saying, but actually having the proof to be able to claim it through third-party audited sources. Then I'm a diverse founder, so I'm able to hit within any of their mandates that mean a lot to these retailers right now. So when you look at all those boxes, I'm checking all those boxes. So it becomes easy to say yes to a company like Les Gray. So I think if we just narrow this down, just make it easy to say yes to you. And if you think about it from just those simplest terms, that actually be a great winning strategy.
Without a doubt. And do your homework, right? Understand where, what their priorities are, right? Understand their processes, understand who else is on the shelf, right? You've got to do twice the work before even having the conversation. And I think people often forget that. And listen, as you mentioned, right? Like you're a Latino founder, right? Like talk to me a little bit about the experience of being a Latino founder, honestly, being a Latino professional in the sneaker space, right? Like, what's it been like for you? And actually, the real question that I want you to answer is, if especially given where the sneaker market is today, because you've seen it grow right over the last 20 years, right? So, you know, if you were having a conversation with a young Latino individual who's thinking about getting in the sneaker space, let alone starting their own business, like what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say that I would give that young Latino founder, or just any BIPOC founder or underrepresented founder, I would tell them that there is a possibility, right? I would point to these figures and really try to attach yourself to them, right? Um, who are these diverse founders or executives, right? Because not everyone has to be a founder, right? You could be an executive at some of these major organizations and really try to learn from them. What did they have to do to get there? What does it take? Try to look for mentors. Mentors really, really can change, um, the ability for you to learn fast. And, I've always, I've loved this kind of like thinking where it says, use your youth as an advantage, right? So the simple example is like, if you're 19 and you DM me and you're like, hey, I'm in college, I need help, I have a brand, I'll probably help you for free, right? But unfortunately, if you're 40 or 50 and you come to me and you're like, hey, Steve, I got this idea, I'm like, I'm really expensive to talk to, you know?
100%. I
And,
mean,
and
it's the
that's
truth. Yep. No, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So use that, right? So for these founders that are young, use your youth to leverage that. Just that being naive, almost like that. The fact that you can DM or hit someone up on Twitter or LinkedIn and just be like, "Hey, I'm so and so." You never know. Somebody might respond, and I think many times people want to help, right? Especially if you're young. There's something about youth that I think innately as humans we want to pass down and help younger generations build up. Especially if you could say, "Hey, I'm a Latino founder or I'm a diverse founder," right? Because you know the struggles, and I innately believe that, and I know for me, with 100% certainty, I don't want future generations of diverse founders to have to go through what I had to go through, or going through right now currently.
Yep. Yeah. No, and there's that element of, starting young, right? Like I think to your point of take advantage of your youth, take advantage of your potential, you might not have as many responsibilities at that age, right? Like, it's really what do you do with that extra time if you're in college? What do you do with that extra time on the weekends? Even if you're working that 9 to 5, what do you do between 5 and 8 o'clock, right? And in turn, I think you bring up a really, really good point, which is, dive in and start learning, talk to people who've done it. There's a good friend of mine, my old co-founder. His entire career is literally based off of how good he is and how persistent he is with cold emailing, specifically people that he wants to do business and deals with. He has no shame and he just gets in touch, right? And he'll figure out a way to just have one meeting and one coffee, and that can completely, completely change the game, right? And so, just to bring it back home, right? As you mentioned, you're on this growth curve. There's a ton ahead, right? What are the things that are keeping you up at night? Honestly, as a founder, right? Like we've all got things. Let's start there.
Yeah, I think for me is just I have a massive, massive opportunity, a generational company opportunity. And when you think of that, is making sure that you are looking and planning for the future, but at the same time, always, what keeps me up at night is, I want to make sure that my staff is taken care of. I want to make sure that my teams, how are we improving our systems? How are we improving our communications? Are my customers happy? That's what keeps me up at night. I'm just relentless about like, okay, are my customers happy? Are they are being serviced in a way that would make me happy, right? And more importantly, am I delivering value to them and to the industry? And that, as you grow, specifically as a startup, where we're growing fast, and not only are we growing fast, but we're also in the largest retailers in the country. So there are an immense amount of, I would say, customers now looking at our brand for the first time. And I want to make sure that they have a great experience as well with our company. So that's what keeps me up at night is just this communication so that I make sure that we stay really grateful for all the customers that we have and that we communicate to them and that we supply them with what they need, right? Because then that's what's going to allow us to grow. And I think that's where we're in a very, very unique position right now because typically you don't have a startup that has the type of distribution that we have. We are already penetrating with the leaders in each vertical across multiple verticals in the largest footwear market in the world. And that unique opportunity that we have right now currently that we're servicing is something that's really exciting. So that's what kind of keeps me up. It's almost excitement keeps me up at night, but I just make sure that I know that, I'm a big meditator, so I just meditate and I breathe, I go to sleep, and then I know that I'm ready and charged for the next day.
So it seems like mental health has been a big thing for you in order to like be a successful founder. Has that always been the case, right? Have you always had, maintaining and investing in your mental health be a core part of your success, or is this more of a recent thing?
Yeah, I would probably say when I started my 30s. I'm 46 now. In my 30s, that was something I'm actually happy. It wasn't super young, but for my age group, 30 is young to start thinking. 16 years ago to be thinking about mental health, it wasn't a common thing. Let's just say that. 16 years ago, and and I'm glad I did because what it allowed me to do, and I look at myself, is that it allowed me to stay grounded in my core values because I'm closer to self. And I really understand what I innately believe the future of the world would benefit from. And it allows me to listen to myself and my intuition and not have me where I'm just so scattered, so all over the place that I'm not even listening to myself anymore and I'm just doing. And I'm in a place of force, I'm in a place of strength because I understand what my core values are because allow myself to stop and actually listen to myself.
I love that. And honestly, from my own founder journey perspective, I wish I would have found meditation, yoga, breath work. I started doing it maybe 3, 4 years ago, right? If I started in my early 20s, right, like I think it really would have completely changed things. So, um, um, but no, that's beautiful. In reality, it's an essential component for everything else to work, right? Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us for a Bags Bodega session. Where can people find you? Where should they shop? Like, give the shout out.
Yes, so they could find us at Alesgrey, Alesgrey on Instagram. They could find me on LinkedIn under Steve Patino. And then go support us at REI. Go support us at Nordstrom. Go support us at Foot Locker. We need all the support we can get. And businesses, if they're out there, we provide the only non-slip, safety certified, and sustainably certified footwear for the largest workforces on the planet. That's over 50% of the entire US workforce. So if you are a major corporation, whether you're a tech company or a supermarket or a Starbucks, a McDonald's, an Amazon, a Meta, and you need footwear for your staff and your cafeteria and your workforces or even your employees to just keep them happier, we want to make them sure that they're comfortable and safe. And that's what we want to provide for footwear. We're the future of work footwear.
All right. Well, hopefully one of those incredible organizations hears this, sees this, and you get a deal out of it because in reality, they need exactly what you're selling.
And Secure Bags can finance it. So I'm happy.
Oh yeah, and we're here to back you up along the way, without a doubt. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you sharing.
Amazing. Thank you, Daniel.